Okay, we should be live unless I, hit the wrong button and totally screwed up and I'm just
such a disappointment.
Talking into this. I'm adopted, I swear.
Such a disappointment to me. Look how pretty we look, though. You're not adopted.
We do. We're mom. I think I'm dad's father. I don't know if I'm yours. Okay. Good morning, lovelies. Today I had the horrible idea to interview my mother.
Horrible. It was very, very bad. And I quickly said yes before she could change her mind.
That's true. She wanted to trap me in for another day because she knew I was coming in for Father's Day weekend. So, yeah. Anyway, Mom, why don't you introduce yourself? Try to sound smart.
Okay, my slave name is Christina's mom. I'm Maryjanice Davidson. I write paranormal romance. I'm probably best known for the UNDEAD series starring Betsy the Vampire Queen. I almost said Vampire Slayer.
I keep saying that too. Like every time I felt like, yeah, my mom wrote the Betsy the Vampire Queen book.
And I've been in the business for about 15 years, and Chris is coming up fast behind me, so I'm looking forward to being obsolete any day now.
Yeah, but I don't write paranormal romance. That's
thank God.
It's like, yeah, I don't.
I'll stay out of sci-fi. I'll stay out of sci-fi, and you stay out of paranormal romance, and we'll just be parallel career tracks.
That sounds cool. Yeah. And for those of you who are going to be coming in from Mom's side of the internet rather than my side, yes, I am Dawn. My name is not Dawn. That nickname came about because of an unfortunate incident with the Dawn dish soap, which I, as a teenager, I thought would go with the dish soap machine.
The dishwasher hated Dawn dish soap. Hated it.
So many bubbles.
Oh my!
It just spilled all over the floor.
And the best part is, so I call her my daughter Dawn, whose name isn't Dawn. And when we were at Book Lovers Con, so many of my fans came up to her and said, "Hey, Dawn, how's it going?" And she's like, "Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's not my name." I get why, like security. But my friend from college still calls me that. She still does. All right.
I'm really glad that's going to haunt you two, both of our graves.
Hate you so much. Anyway, so it doesn't look like we have anybody live now, which is totally fine because it is Monday morning.
Oh, seriously. And for anybody who's here right now, bless you.
But here is how we go. I do have some prepared questions that I scoured from my patrons over on Patreon, as well as Facebook and other internet sources. So we're going to be asking that. And then if any of you guys have any questions about writing advice or the Undead and Unwed series or how we both look fabulous and it's not trade secrets, then yeah, we will share that with you. Cool. All right, let's get started. This one comes from one of my patrons. Mom, how did you get started? Was it a slow build-up or was it like an overnight success deal?
Well, it was overnight in once. I had 10 years of rejection slips. So when the Undead series took off and people were calling me an overnight sensation, I'm like, yeah, overnight and a decade, overnight and a decade. I had so many rejection slips. I could have redone our dining room in rejection slip. And some of them are come on really nice. They're like that onion paper. They're really thick. So
all of mine are digital. So I don't get that.
That's yeah, no. And the worst rejection slip was when I opened the envelope and there was just a thin strip of paper. You know, we do not need your work at this time. They wouldn't waste an entire 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper to reject me.
You're worth that much, yeah, exactly. At least.
Well, thank you. So for one sheet of paper, they could reject like 10. They could crush the dreams of 10 different writers. So that was a vodka smoothie morning, certainly. So yeah, I've been writing since I was 13. I've been trying to get published since I was in my early 20s, and I didn't sell Undead and Unwed until I was 33. So and it took off super quickly, but which is why people weirdly started calling me an overnight success, which was just never ever true. And that's probably typical of a lot of writers. It's sales, and you're gonna hear 9 no thank yous before you're gonna hear 1 yes please, and that's just how it is. So be resigned.
Yeah. We have someone, Rachel. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Rachel.
What constitutes paranormal romance trade secrets? I don't know. I'm not in that genre.
Okay. I'm going to let Chris take this. Paranormal romance trade secrets. You know what? I'm going I'm going to share the advice that Charlene Harris shared with me. And yeah, I'm a name dropper. I'm one of our many luncheons together at many conferences. My friend Charlene Harris, who is also Charlene Harris, who occasionally writes, and she's Charlene Harris. She said to me, go to the bookstore and see what's not on the shelves and go home and write that. And for me, there weren't any vampire books about a mouthy secretary turned vampire who was a reluctant queen and who loved designer shoes more than her own life, like literally more than her own life. There wasn't anything like that there. What was there in Paranormal were all these broody male vampires who were, 300 years old and super, super serious and skulking in alleys. I just thought, where are the plumber vampires? Why are they all these, Scottish lords?
Where are all the non-toxic male vampires?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I did. It was really good advice. So for anybody trying to break into paranormal, don't look at the trend. Don't say, oh, it looks like vampires are coming back, or, oh, what's really hot right now is zombies. Go to the bookstore and look for what's not there. What do you want to read? What do you specifically want to read? And if it's not there, go home and write it.
Write what you want to read. I love that advice.
Yeah. Charlene Harris gave it to me. So she occasionally writes. So
shut up about Charlene Harris. I'm not interviewing Charlene Harris.
I wish you were.
I don't know her. I wish she was my mother.
She would be a great mom. All right.
I don't know. I honestly don't know her. And how similar is, another one by Rachel, how similar is Betsy to you in real life? I wish I could answer that, but I don't read mom's books because they're explicit romance. And I have no issue with that genre, but I don't want to read a scene written by my mother as inspired by my father.
That's true.
We're just, how similar is Betsy to you? I mean, you're not much of a shoe person.
I'm not much of a shoe person.
But you were a secretary.
But I was definitely did many office administration jobs, secretarial work, admin. Betsy is blonde and vain and not the sharpest knife in the drawer. So I will let people who
secretary
know me, people who know, but yeah,
wants to be queen.
We definitely, wow, and tries to control her household and ultimately fails. Sarcastic, immature, like pathologically immature. Betsy and I actually have quite a bit in common. The irony is I was a Payless shoe girl when I started writing Betsy, but so many people read those books. They would send me coupons for designer shoes. Beverly Feldman of Beverly Feldman Designer Shoes sent me a dozen free pairs.
I remember that.
Yeah,
we were opening all these boxes and they were spread out all over the living room here, and we were just like, these are so pretty, and I would never wear them because they look so uncomfortable, but they're so pretty.
The last line in, I think, the second Undead book was, I'm still waiting for the Beverly Feldman fall shoes, and Beverly Feldman's assistant was a Betsy fan. So she went to her boss and said, this woman is writing about your shoes peripherally. And so they found out my shoe size, and Beverly Feldman sent me a dozen free designer shoes. And my husband had a heart attack because he walked in the door and he's like, what did you spend? You don't even like designer shoes. What is happening? What is my house? And I'm like, I know this looks bad. Because at that point we really didn't have much money, and I'm like, but I swear I didn't even pay shipping. How generous and nice was that? That was ridiculous. So that's when I started dropping a lot of corporate, Betsy wants to go to McDonald's for a shake. Come on, McDonald's, get on board.
So you're saying that when I start writing and publishing, I should make one of my characters
be a whore, like you're getting paid to be a whore, which is actually the definition of being a whore. Whore for corporate America, and get all the free stuff you can. Remember, Mommy got the free French silk pie from Baker Square for the same reason.
That's true.
I talked up Baker Square and they sent me a card for free pie and a hat that said something about pies. I forget. I didn't care about the hat at all. So so be a whore is Mommy's best advice. This is going great.
I sincerely hope there are no children watching. I see there are 5 of you. Thank you for joining us.
Hopefully none of them under, say, 16.
Please, God, no. I mean, I swear so much on this channel that there shouldn't even be any children.
I don't even know where she gets that dirty mouth.
Who fucking cares?
It might be from me. like a little tiny bit from me.
Okay, so this question
I blame society.
Always blame society. This question comes from Jennifer from Facebook. You already kind of touched on this, but what advice would you give for someone just starting out about building a following from nothing? What worked well for you?
That's a really good question. Building because every writer in the world has, and every actor, every painter, we all have to start from nothing. And the internet is vast, and a lot of it is cheap. So simple things like a Facebook page, or a
YouTube channel,
and yeah, a billion other people have that, but you have to get something of yourself out there. So don't think about the billions of other Facebook pages out there. Think about what you want to do with your promotion, so people want to look into what you're. Wow.
Words. You're a writer, Mom. Come on.
Me write good and good with words. So the cheap ones are easy. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and there's and also and now that, thank goodness, everybody's getting vaccinated, book signings can start to come back. And even if you have no money for a budget, which many of us don't when we're starting out, you can go to all your local bookstores, Barnes and Noble or whatever's around you, and you can sign stock. Go before your book comes out, go down there and introduce yourself. I'm Maryjanice Davidson. I've got a new book coming out. I would love to come and sign your stock when it comes out on November 1st. And if they weren't planning on ordering it, they will after you meet them. They absolutely, booksellers want to promote local authors. They want you in their stores. So they are a huge, I will walk into the Mall of America, Barnes and Noble, and the clerk who met me 10 years ago remembers me. Possibly not because of my work, but
we tend to be a very memorable family.
A lot of these bookstores have book clubs. You can go and you don't even have to be like, well, pick my book and we'll talk about but just go and introduce yourself. They're going to have questions for a local author. They're going to want to know all kinds of things.
And I know that the idea of instigating conversation is kind of like anathema to many of us introverted, antisocial authors, but it
really is.
We went through the whole, we had the whole fun of actually writing the book. Now, if you want to sell it, you gotta sell it.
Well, and remember, you're not about one book. It's about what you are writing. It's about Jane Smith's career. It's not about this one particular book that Jane Smith wrote. I'm not about Undead and Unwed. I have a 70 book backlist of all kinds of books. So I'm about what's MJ Davidson working on next, and that's how you should think of your career too. So, and all of these things I just suggested don't cost a penny. They don't cost anything. So and you're going to see. It's like the rock rolling downhill trope. The rock's going to pick up speed and eventually hit you and kill you. But before that happens, it's gonna be
the time of your life.
It really is. So it's all worth it in the end. So I know it's hard. I know it's hard to put yourself out there, but it's got to be done. Right. Be resigned.
Rachel, you are not terribly annoying. We love your questions. I always loved /hated/ admired how your series incorporates plots and characters from short stories and other books, so you have to go buy and read those to get it all. It's genius / evil. I mean, evil, yes. I don't know if I'd ever put genius in the same sentence.
So hurtful. Oh, I'm done.
I have 25 years to make up for.
I swear that's actually not a cold-blooded marketing decision. That's me wanting to write more about my favorite characters. So, and that's actually also responding to readers who are saying, when are you going to write another Fred the Mermaid story? When are you going to? Well, as it happens, I will. And I'm going to put my plug in now. There are several short stories on Amazon that you can read for free if you're a member of Amazon Kindle Prime.
She loves doing the free short stories thing that you can get on that you can just publish on Amazon for shits and giggles. She loves that.
I do, because there's not a single brick and mortar publishing house who will publish just a short story from anyone. Not even, I think even if Stephen King said, will you guys publish a 20-page short story? I don't think they would, but Amazon will, and you can just do it yourself. And I love that. And so I there's a whole bunch of new stories about Fred the Mermaid. There's a whole bunch, there's Betsy stories. There's, I did my take on Frankenstein, if Frankenstein was a sexy woman. Yeah, and there's also some new anthos on there too. So if you're caught up with all the stuff I've written, you know, up in the last year, there's always
contemporary ASSHAT and all that jazz.
Oh yeah, that's right, a contemporary ASSHAT,
which I gave her the idea for
as contemporary ASSHAT at the court of Henry VIII, which is my very first historical fiction that yes, Chris gave me the idea for. Is if you're a member of Amazon Kindle Prime, you can get it for free. It's probably the longest book I've ever written.
She had so much fun. Like she had an excuse to go to England and explore with Dad, and she left her children behind.
I did. It was great. It was so great.
They saw the penguins and the castles, and fuck you, Mom.
Yeah. Well, and because I didn't want to just look at a picture of the Tower of London. I didn't want to just Wikipedia it. I wanted to know what it smelled like. I wanted to know what it felt like to stand where all these doomed people stood and
get a tax-free vacation to
one of my favorite, Claire Ridgway, who writes In the Footsteps of Anne Boleyn. They basically went all over England, and everywhere Anne was, they went and wrote about it. And she said, when you're standing in Hampton Court Palace or the Tower of London or Hever Castle, Anne's childhood home, you're only separated by time, not space. And it's really something to, I kind of off topic a little. I felt the same way when I was in the Colosseum in Rome. You stand there and you feel so tiny, and you feel the weight of the centuries on you, and in not a bad way.
That's why I can't stand like going, because I majored in history, FYI, and so like I can't stand going like when I went to San Francisco. Yeah, I know it's like an old city, but like compared to, you know, the Twin Cities compared to Boston and the East Coast, like there was like, it took me like all week to figure it out, but like there's no real weight here. Like, I mean, there probably is. I'm just not feeling it or seeing it. But whenever I go to Boston, that like I can feel it. I can breathe it in. When I went to Rwanda, like it's everywhere. But like I can't stand new cities. I just can't do it. I'm sorry. Do you plan to write more in the contemporary ASSHAT series?
Absolutely. I want it to be a trilogy. I want to write 2 queens per book. So the next ones would be Jane Seymour and Anne of Cleves, and then that would leave poor Catherine Howard and
Catherine Parr.
Catherine Parr, very good, Chris. So I just need to talk my publisher into it. So, but yeah, the plan is definitely to do a trilogy.
So speaking of publishers, another question from my patrons. What are the benefits of working with a traditional publisher in today's market rather than, say, self-publishing?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a really good question. There are many benefits. Obviously, it's still considered kind of the gold standard. If you get in with like, you know, one at Penguin, Berkeley, Random House, one of the bigs, you have a team set up to help you, first of all, not just your editor. But your editor and your editor's assistant, they're going to go over every line you write, and they're going to try and make your work even better. Other than your mom and you, nobody wants your book to succeed more than your editor does. So definitely bend an attentive ear to his or her advice. They have a whole marketing department to also help you with really terrific artists. So they're going to send you a questionnaire all about your hero and your heroine, and you fill it out even though it seems tedious, because otherwise you're going to look at a cover and your redheaded heroine is going to have black short hair and possibly be Mexican, which would be great if your heroine was Mexican, but she is from Alaska. And
Mexicans can be from Alaska.
They can absolutely
like immigration.
That's very true. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like the opposite of so fill
China,
that out.
Literally the other side of the world.
There we go. Yeah. Well, me not know much about books and geography. Me write good though.
This was a mistake.
So there's and they're gonna do your cover. They're gonna do your flap copy, which is when you pick up a book at the bookstore and you flip it over and you look at the back and you read that paragraph.
And it's actually what the book is about, rather than just a bunch of like one sentence reviews like, this book was great. This book was spectacular. I love the world building. It's just like, what the fuck is this book about?
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate that so much. I just tell me what the book is about.
I feel like
I have issues, Mother.
You have strong feelings about
I do.
Many scary things. Okay.
And even though they have they're going to give you a marketing team to help you out with all the art and all that stuff, you as the author still have to do some marketing.
Yes, absolutely.
Even if you're going traditionally published, because like,
well, and they're going to say, here's your cover. Okay, so please put it up on your Twitter. Please put it up on your Facebook. Please put. I mean, and that's not them asking too much of anyone. So they do, but yeah. So be again. I keep saying be resigned like it's a negative. It's just be prepared. You have to do your part. And the days where you could just sit back and let the publisher do 100% of the work are gone, if they were ever even around.
I don't think they really were.
I've only been writing for 15 years. I can't speak to 100 years ago. So we've got the marketing team, we've got the editorial team, and the PR team. They're the ones who are going to set up your interviews. They're going to the PR team for Berkeley. They're the ones who get me on TV. They're the ones who set up the radio interviews for me. If book tours, like physical book tours, were kind of fading out even before the pandemic, because publishers know it's so much cheaper to do an online
virtual
book
tour.
So unless you're in the top 10 of the New York Times list, you probably won't be expected to do a physical tour. That doesn't mean you can't hop in your car and go drive around to to the, like I was saying before, the local bookstores. Another one, go see your librarian. Go see the librarians, because libraries they're gonna buy your books, and they will love to have you come and talk to them. There are book clubs that meet at libraries. This is all more promo stuff that you can do that doesn't cost a dime.
Real quick, I know it might be bad taste to plug another person's channel during the live interview.
Okay.
I will link
it. This is the bad taste hour. Starring Chris and Mary.
I will link it in to the description of this video after I'm done. But Jenna Maryjanice has an amazing AuthorTube channel. And in addition to being absolutely hilarious, and you're definitely going to see a little bit of monkey see, monkey do, with her format, she does have a ton of really good advice with marketing. She's self-published, so like all of the marketing and getting on the best-selling list herself, that was all her. So she has a lot of really great tips on how to market and promote and all that stuff. We're getting some more peeps. If you're new, hello. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any questions at all, I got some prepared ones, but feel free to throw yours in the chat. You were talking about book covers. Does Betsy look like your mental picture from the covers?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Betsy's a tall blonde, a tall vein, somewhat vacuous at times, blonde.
But doesn't wear glasses.
Doesn't wear glasses. It's funny because the last couple of Undead titles, when I would share the cover, my mom would be like, "She looks exactly like you." I'd be like, it's unintentional. Well, but I at least admit it. I mean, I'm like it's terrible. I'm blanking on the author of Stephanie Meyer, the author of the Twilight series. Bella looks exactly. I mean,
she's so vaguely described too, except for being like
brunette,
super pale,
heart-shaped face. If they put up a description from the book of Bella next to a picture of Stephanie Myers, it was very blatant.
That's the reason why the Twilight series was so popular, is because it is blatant self-insert. Like that's what made them so quote unquote good. But like,
we're not going to shit on Twilight. I bring that up because a lot of times authors do that. I'm a huge fan of Write What You Know. I know about being an administrative assistant. I know about being a tall, clumsy blonde who's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I know about caring more about material nonsense than, say, the more important things in the world. So that's why Betsy is like Betsy. And but she, like me, she learned. She's not the same person she was in Undead and Unwed. She's this person, and then but by the end of the series, she's grown a smidge. And I think that's important too.
Let's see here. What do we got? All right, I stopped numbering these. That was a mistake.
One of many.
Yeah, man. First of all, doing this interview.
We can go back further than that.
Question from Colleen: how has the market and publishing for the paranormal romance genre, and possibly other genres too, how has that changed since you started writing 15 years ago to now?
Well, there's a lot more markets for it. It's what's funny was because I got a lot of rejections for paranormal romance before I broke through with Undead and Unwed, and one of them was nobody's reading vampires, nobody cares about vampires. And when you get a rejection that's so exquisitely stupid, it can be hard to hold your tongue, and often I did not. But what I love about writing in the 21st century is there's so many subgenres. It's also what I love about writing romance in general. So many subgenres and so many media. If you only want to read Kindle, great. There's a zillion paranormal books on Kindle. If you like the feel of an actual book, you're set. If you don't necessarily like Bridgerton, for example, Regency romance, that's actually I've never been interested in that, and that's fine because there are 100 other subgenres in romance that you can look into, and with each year that passes, there are more options both in the market. And what's great about this business is there's room for everybody. There really is. You don't have to be a dick. There's room for everyone, and you can help people who are still trying to break through and not take food out of your own mouth. So it's definitely more open. There are definitely more avenues to publication. Self-publishing doesn't have the stigma it had 20 years ago. And even 20 years ago, it wasn't that. These days, when you say self-published, the first thing people think is not necessarily, oh, so you couldn't sell it to a real publisher. That's not true at all. I mean, there are so many people out there, and Chris mentioned one
Jenna Moresi.
Thank you very much. Who has done incredible things on her own, and it's not because she can't sell her books to New York. It's because she's an incredible talent, and she's making this happen.
And she wanted the creative freedom.
Exactly.
She mentioned in some of her videos.
Exactly. Creative freedom is perfect. I was when I was so desperate when I was getting so many rejection slips, I just wanted a publishing contract. I didn't care who I wrote for, so I tried to break in with Harlequin.
God, I'm trying to picture how that would have gone.
And I deserved to be rejected because I didn't really want to write for Harlequin. And if I had gotten a contract, that would have been bad for me because and a terrible thing to do to them, not to mention their readers, because my heart wouldn't have been in it at all. It wouldn't have. So I'm just really happy that they were right to reject me, because don't try to force yourself in somewhere just so you can say I'm published in paperback with her. You got to write what you love, or you won't be passionate about it. That's why I kept with Undead and Unwed. I loved this dippy, funny, blonde vampire who got hit by an Aztec and died on the same day she got fired. And so
13 books, right?
15
books.
Yeah.
I don't keep track.
That's fine. It's fine. So just to get back to summing up, definitely there are more avenues toward publishing, including self-publishing, than there were 15 or 20 years ago. And I think the audiences are more open-minded because they're seeing all the stuff out there. I mean, whatever you want to read, it's out there somewhere.
It's a playground.
It really is.
Question from Kathy, a young writer who once DM'd one of us on Instagram. One question: how do you deal with parents that consider writing for a hobby and putting it on a free platform useless? I don't know about that.
I try very hard never to encourage my children in anything. So I feel like your parents are right. No, wow, that's really unfortunate. I'm really sorry you have to deal with that. That's really discouraging, and it sucks that they don't see the wonderful things you're trying to do. They're wrong. Full stop. I'm very sorry. I'm breaking the mom code here but they're not right at all. What you're doing has worth. Please, please, please keep at it. Again, 10 years of rejection slips. My daughter had a couple of years of rejection slips before she started selling novellas. If you love it, keep at it. My parents actually, they didn't, the first things I sold were ebooks, and this was way before Kindle. This was way before Nook. This was when, if you wanted to read an ebook, you had to read it on your computer, or you could print it out and read it on paper that you bought that you were printing out. And my parents didn't consider that real books. So my father called me alleged author for years.
I'm not surprised, but Jesus.
Yes, for years. And I really hit him over the head with that contract in Berkeley when it came. I was like, look at this, you son of a bitch.
Roll it up like a magazine and smack him over the head like a bad dog.
And I had a very good friend who would never hurt me normally, who had no idea how devastating it was when she found out all I was publishing were romance novels, and she wanted to know when I would write a real book.
Okay, I'm not a romance fan at all, but they're real. I can touch them.
Like, do you think they're holograms? I'm not writing holograms. So even from people you love, who you think are going to kind of, prop you up a little and support what you do, you're going to get inadvertent bullshit from them. If you love doing it, keep doing it. If you're going to get rejection, that's fine. And my parents did come around. Around the first time I made the New York Times bestseller list, they started to get the vague idea that maybe they had been incorrect. And maybe. So, and if nothing else, do it for spite. Because someday you'll be published and you'll be like, you guys did not help me at all. And now this is my full-time job and thanks for nothing. So write for spite, nothing else.
It's a great motivator.
Yeah, I think so.
We have a question from Anita. In the Alaska Royal series, what was the inspiration for the elaborate food choices for... You named a character Christina?
Yeah, the Queen of Alaska.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I roll Alaska, guys. And apparently there were some elaborate food choices for my wedding. What inspired that?
I was a foodie way before being a foodie was this trendy, annoying thing. I've always loved, you can't see my ass in this, but I have always loved good food.
Me too, honestly, kind of.
Your
it's
ass
a side,
is great. Your
it's a side
ass
effect.
Is flawless.
Well, now like you're great. That's like 25 years of eating the healthy foodie stuff that she cooks.
Yeah, that's true.
And then I like squirrel away all of it and hide it in my apartment from my roommates too. It's like mine.
I'm also a really good cook, in case any of you were wondering. None of you are interested in that, but I'm a phenomenal cook. Well, we went to Alaska for my 10th wedding anniversary. And I didn't know anything about Alaska when we went there. And so we're visiting all these beautiful museums. And that's where I found out that if Admiral, I think his name was Sewell, if the Admiral hadn't lost his election, he never would have pitched buying Alaska to the United States government. And so I thought, well, what if he lost that election and never went to DC? What if he never pitched, the U.S. buying Alaska? And we didn't want to buy it. Mm-hmm. We were hip deep in the Civil War at that time, and we didn't want to worry about more states we might not be able to control.
Mm-hmm. Plus, I mean, it's the last, we didn't see anything valuable in it because oil hadn't really hit the market yet.
Vast wilderness over by Canada so I thought, well, what if we didn't buy it? And then I found out that it was actually settled by Russians. And I thought, well, what if there was a revolution and Alaska became its own country? And the food in Alaska was also incredible. I mean, you're eating salmon that was literally swimming around 2 hours ago. It was just so incredible and so beautiful. And I just started thinking, well, what if Alaska was its own country with its own royal family, but not like an inbred, sickly, spindly royal family.
European.
But, like a hardy, a royal family.
Alaskan.
That was right. Alaskans who were tough, who think nothing of fishing and then gutting a trout and then eating it all within the same 90-minute span. Which my family has done, by the way. We're also
Grandma and Grandpa Tuna Fish. My parents taught me and my brother how to fish, and we would go on these big fishing trips to Missouri, where they used to live, and Canada. And
there's nothing like a cookout, a campfire, where you're roasting
what you caught.
An hour ago. It's so delicious.
And then s'mores. It's really good.
Just camp for the s'mores, if nothing else. If you can be a vegetarian, you can just camp for the s'mores.
Vegan free. It's fun.
Anyway, so basically going to Alaska inspired that all. And I've been a foodie for a long, long time. And it's just
the amount of cookbooks. Like we're sitting, there's a bookshelf behind the couch here, and it's like 90% bookshelf.
Well, and there's a whole closet in the butler's pantry.
Like Martha Stewart's
magazines.
It's insane.
Really quick too, and speaking of Alaskan Royals, my agent is actually pitching them to Hulu and Netflix to see because there's
I'm more excited hearing of that.
Yeah, it's like, well, Bridgerton is out and everybody's loving that, and I'm like, show me they want new ideas, right? Show me a book where there's an Alaskan spit it out, Mary.
Snarky Alaskan royalty.
Right, exactly. So my agent's pitching that to these on-demand productions. So cross your fingers that we'll see the Alaskans on the little screen someday.
Question from Barris. If you were to eat, I think that's how you pronounce it. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing. If you were to Collins, if you were to eat dinner with one of your characters, who would it be and why?
Oh my God.
They're all awful, right?
Probably. Wow, that's a tough one. I would say it's probably a tie between Tina of the Undead universe, because Betsy's essentially a lot like me. I know what it's like.
That would be a catastrophe.
And also, honestly, the King of Alaska. I think that would be really fun.
King Al?
King Al. Yep, exactly.
Al is I'm not, like I said, I haven't read the books at all, and I had no intention of reading them except for the Jennifer Scales books, because that was literally young adult.
Yep.
Written for me and my brother, but I'm not at all surprised that the King of Alaska is named Al.
I still remember we had an ARC, which is an advanced reviewer's copy of a book. That's what we send out to reviewers before the book's actually, like the end result of the book, the
advanced
official
reader's copy.
Advanced
is what
reader's
that stands
copy.
for.
And the authors get them first because it's our last chance to read through and catch any typos. And for the Jennifer Scales books, our son, he was just 10 or 11 then, and he fell asleep with the ARC on his face. And so we're lifting this like really heavy pile of papers off his head, so he doesn't suffocate and die in the night from reading our work. That would have been a very depressing Easter. So yeah, and I think that's our kids just take for granted that, you know, your parents are gonna write a ton of books, and the books are gonna show up at the house,
or at least read yours and tell you what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so we're far afield of Bear's question. I hope we answered that for you.
Do you have, from Rachel again, do you have a regular writing schedule? How much do you write a day versus a week?
Honestly, it really depends on where I am with the contract. Right now, I don't have to turn anything in for like 3 months, so I'm writing maybe a couple hours a day. 2.5 months from now, I will be writing 10 or 11 hours a day.
That's true. Once you get to, and I've grown up with this, by the way.
Like,
there will be like
procrastinator.
Weeks and weeks where mom will be like, "Oh yeah, no, I'll totally drive you to like all of your after school events, and I'll be there for your games, and I'll do all that."
Deadline.
And then, like,
I'm on deadline
now.
Yeah,
and then there'll be like a week or 2 week period where it's like, do not disturb, do not bother, unless something is on fire. You don't go anywhere near mom.
Everything I told you was a lie. Yeah, it was the 3 B's rule.
Yes,
3 B's.
Blood, barf, burning.
Yep. And if it's one of the 3 B's, absolutely interrupt me. Otherwise, you're dead to me.
Yeah.
As I will be dead to you.
Yes.
So yeah. So honestly, it really, my routine tends to be, I'll write original material in the morning, and actually, that's not quite. I'll read what I wrote the day before and make edits and changes, and then I'll try and get a few pages.
You edit while you write?
I do edit while I write.
What?
Obsessively. So by the time, no, yeah, I have to do that. So I edit every day and I write every day. Even on weekends, especially if I'm on deadline, because it's fun. It's fun for us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a chore. Usually.
If I had never, I would still be writing, even if I'd never. You know, people are saying, "Would you ever write for free?" I'm like, I wrote for free. We have written for free. Like, for over a decade, I wrote for free.
What do you think I was doing in middle school?
Exactly, ditto, right? So, so in the morning, I'll read and edit what I wrote the day before, and I'll try to get a few pages of new. The afternoon, it's the business side, answering fan mail, invitations to speak, and I'm always happy to go speak to for people here. Go to local libraries, go to local book clubs, at these writers conferences, Book Lovers Con, for example, hopefully coming back next spring. We do workshops there. I'm always happy to talk to new writers and anything I can do to help, because it's like I said, there's enough room for all of us in this business.
Yeah, it's not like there so many people. It's hard to describe, but like, you can be a fan of, like, say, Maryjanice Davidson and Charlene Harris, or you can be a fan, like, for me personally,
I know,
like
Charlene Harris.
Or you could be a fan of, like, Rick Riordan and George R. R. Martin, or like, so it's not like we're not competing. Like, there's sort of a little bit of a competition for, like, physical shelf space in, like, physical bookstores, but with Amazon and ebooks and the advent of all that stuff, there is infinite space in the digital book world and in online bookstores. So, like, yeah, you can. I've seen so many authors have great success when they're saying, like, yeah, my book is kind of like Percy Jackson for adults, or it's like, if you loved Game of Thrones, you're probably going to really like my story. Or like, there's The Gilded Ones, which is on my wish list. I've seen it was literally pitched to me as if the Dora Milaje wound up in The Handmaid's Tale. Oh, and I'm like, God, sign me up. Right? Yes.
Yeah, I would also please like to read that immediately.
I know. So it's like,
click.
Oh, careful with the camera. But yeah, no. So, like, you can. they like Mom said, there is room for everyone here. It's you're not like shoving other people out of the spotlight here. You're sharing it with them. And if you're trying to shove, you're just a jerk.
And here's another thing: every quote unquote famous writer, every established writer I've ever met, they have all been super nice and super helpful. Charlene Harris, Laura K. Hamilton, PC Cast. I'm embarrassed to say I'm blanking on the name of the guy who wrote Warm Bodies, which was a book first and then a movie. I was very jealous of him because I had pitched a zombie romance a year before Warm Bodies even came out, and my agents and my editors were like, you just can't do a zombie romance. It's just never going to work. So then this incredible Warm Bodies,
really cute movie that we all love,
made a wonderful movie out of it. And I found myself on a panel with the author a year later, and I introduced myself. I'm super jealous of you, and also I hate you. Great work though, but here's my 10-point reasoning of why I hate you. And he was like, I'm so blah blah blah. But even so, he's meeting a wacko author for the first time who's very envious and jealous and snippy and
Isaac Marion. Thank you, Anita.
You very much, Anita. Isaac, yeah. Super nice guy, super nice guy. He had to sit next to me for half an hour.
Oh, the poor man.
Exactly. For all he knew, I was dangerous or under medicated or over medicated. So anyway, and they've all been really helpful. They've, Laura K. Hamilton did a signing with me for my very first book. She did not have to share a signing with me at all.
Aww.
It was entirely her idea. I'll be in Minneapolis. I see you got your new books coming out. Why don't we do it? Laura K. Hamilton. Holy cow. Charlene Harris, super nice. So everyone I've met has been super nice and very helpful. Again, there's so much room out in this business. Yeah. They want you to do well. They want you to have a great writing career, and they will help you if you give them a chance.
Question again from Collins. Do you think people should use some tropes in books?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I don't know if you know this, but I literally have a trilogy that is based entirely on romance tropes.
That's true.
It's one
and making fun of them too. Yeah, like the Shaun of the Dead of romance books.
Exactly. It's Shaun of the Dead made fun of zombie movies, but you could tell the writers really love zombie movies, and that's what this trilogy is. It's a 3-book trilogy. It takes place all over the world.
What's it
True
called?
Fly. True Fly. I'm remembering the individual titles. True Flies and Second Dates.
The Love Scam. I think.
The Love Scam and Sweetheart, North Dakota. And they are literally romance tropes. And I even put a list of the tropes I use at the end of the book. So you can pick this book up in a bookstore, flip to the end, and see if your favorite trope is represented, and then decide whether or not to buy this book. And it was so fun. Now, when I'm not deliberately setting out to point out romance tropes and writing an entire trilogy about it, I do think tropes are great. But I can see the concern. There's a fine line between a stereotypical boring move of a heroine we've seen a million times and a trope, but tropes are what keep us like for my example, one of my favorite tropes is when the hero or the heroine gets a fever and the other one has to take care of them.
Are you serious?
Honest to God.
Oh my God.
That is a huge trope. Now, another huge trope in romance, the big miss, we call it, the big misunderstanding.
This one I hate.
The kind where all they ever had to do was sit down for 30 seconds and have a talk face to face, and they could have resolved all of that.
Overly Sarcastic Productions calls this the idiot plot.
Yeah, I actually don't care for the big miss either, but there are many of us who do.
So many of my videos, I have an entire playlist called the Tropes playlist, where it's like, here are my top 10 favorite tropes in fantasy, sci-fi, romance.
What do you use in your work? What tropes have you used in your work?
Oh God, the tropes that I love, which is like found family. God, what else? The actual badass warrior woman, so not the faux action girl.
Right. So we're writing about the tropes that we love, and the readers out there are grabbing these books because they love these tropes too. So I don't think at all that they're necessarily a negative. I think it's like anything. Too much is too much.
Except for the ones that are inherently sexist, like the faux action girl. That one can burn.
Oh, Mary Sue. I'm not really much of which is ironic because it could be argued that Betsy's a Mary Sue. As much as I like the Anita Blake series by Laura K. Hamilton, Anita's kind of
Stewish.
So
John Wick is a Mary Sue, and we love those movies.
What? Yeah. Is it a Marty Sue? If it's a guy?
It's
Gary
Stu. Gary Stu.
Yeah, that's what it is. And I love the John Wick movies. I'm delighted. I can't believe there's going to be a fourth one. I mean, it's just.
I'm mostly watching them for Morpheus these days, like the Pigeon King. Question from Darla. Good morning, ladies. MJ, why are you afraid of bats? Good question, because they are adorable.
No more questions. Slam. They gross me out. I don't like mice either, and they're mice with wings. They're just, and I know
so cute.
I know they're not cute.
They're adorable, especially when they're tiny and like they're eating a melon.
You're wrong.
And they're like eating.
Wrong. You've never been more wrong. Never in your life have you been more wrong. They skeeve me out. They gross me out. If you're wondering if there's some sort of childhood trauma, not about bats. So I just have never, ever liked them. I don't like being outside and seeing them flying around. I was reading Hannibal, the book Hannibal, so the sequel to Silence of the Lambs, when Hannibal is in Rome lecturing. Oh, no, I'm sorry, in Florence lecturing. And during his lecture, a bat flies in and flies her. And as the author put it, this happens all the time in Rome, especially at night. And no one even, I'm like, I would have been out. Being in the room with a cannibal would have been less upsetting to me than when the bat came in. I would have just been
you might have survived an encounter with Hannibal too.
Right? I would have been polite. He only eats rude people. I would have been very polite and also
maybe not actually, you probably would have died.
Scared of the bat. So there's no logical reason. I just hate them. And you can't kill them or hurt them because they're vital. I acknowledge that we need them. Well, also we need cholesterol, but we need
cockroaches and snakes.
Yeah, I mean,
snakes are cute, though.
I need ass padding, but I don't have to love all of it. So ass padding and bats.
Question from Kathy. What do you think of the trope that isn't really a trope, but I call it the cute, edgy girl as an MC trope? So kind of almost like the manic pixie dream girl type of thing. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by cute,
I think it does
edgy
sound
girl.
like a trope, though.
Can you give Kathy? Can you give us like some like examples in movies, shows, books of like what you're talking about? Because I'm coming up blank on like what you're trying to communicate here. And it might take a couple of minutes for it to show up.
And that's fine. Cute edgy as an MC trope. Yeah, no, I think that is a trope.
I mean, technically,
cute,
everything is a trope.
Okay, so like Raven on the Teen Titans, the show, the cartoon, not the
original Teen Titans series.
Yeah, so
the good one.
Yeah, where so it's much lighter because it's for kids. Mm-hmm. I would definitely see her as a cute, edgy girl, even though she's literally the daughter of a demon. I love Raven.
Harley Quinn.
Oh yeah. I
especially Birds of Prey. Harley Quinn. I love Birds of Prey. I never saw Steven Universe. Sorry.
Harley Quinn. I actually just finished watching Cruel Summer on Hulu, which was surprisingly great. I really liked it. And Kevin Smith, who did Clerks, his daughter is Harley Quinn Smith. They named her after Harley Quinn. So it's a riot to see. And there's one scene where there's kind of sitting around, there's nothing to do, and Harley Quinn Smith says, "Do you want to watch Clerks?" So I just wanted to get that in there. I really liked it. Yeah, I think it is a trope, the cute, edgy girl. And
there's some people who dig it and some people who don't.
Well, and it depends on who's writing her or drawing her, because in some of the comics, Harley Quinn is a dangerous woman who you would never ever want to cross, and who you would fear of your life if you're wrong. There was one where she breaks into an insane asylum, and she's a psychiatrist, remember? Mm-hmm. So but she went to college on a gymnastics scholarship, which is why she's so nimble and quick and everything. But people often forget she's
formidable.
She's almost a genius. So, and she was using her psychiatric training to like get past all these guards and to talk all these inmates down. And it was actually kind of frightening. And in the end result, she ended up sending iPads that were going to blow up to children.
Oh my God.
And I was like, wow. I mean, so depending on who's drawing her or writing her, she's not even necessarily cute and edgy. She's a formidable, dangerous sociopath.
Yeah.
We probably did not answer the question at all.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's coming up. By the way, we got you wanted to bounce in like an hour. So we just an FYI, we got about 10, 11 minutes left.
That's so quick.
Yeah.
Time really flies when you're with somebody you
it has dragged on into an eternity.
It's like, oh, thank God. 7 minutes to go. 6 minutes and 59 seconds.
So I've got
6
some more
minutes and
questions
45
here, but
seconds.
anyone else who has more questions, feel free to type them up. And
we
will
cannot
try to
answer
get to
them as we did not answer the Harley Quinn question. So thanks for that.
Okay, I got a couple of questions left on here. How do you deal with imposter syndrome?
That is a really good question. Fans of the Undead series noticed about 5 books in that the covers radically changed. They started out of these really cute
cartoony ones.
Very cute cartoony covers. And a couple years after Undead started making the New York Times bestseller list, if you went into the romance section, you would see a ton of books not written by me with cute cartoony covers with paranormal heroines. One of my favorites was a werewolf who loved designer suits. And
was the main character's name Betsy Baylor?
No, but it was, yeah, exactly, Betsy Baylor. And so I definitely, and I chose to be flat. I mean, that's nice. It's really, I'm happy when I hear that I've inspired other people to write. I think that's really great.
I would love if after I publish like my first novel to find like, a few years down the line that someone comes and takes that same concept and just kicks my ass with it. That would be amazing.
So you're 5 years into the Undead series, you're looking and there are all these cartoon covers and even like kind of the same font on some of them. I mean, it was pretty blatant. And and at the same time, I was starting to get fan mail from little girls reading the Betsy book. Little girl, 10 years old.
And your stuff isn't even like considered young adult. So like it's not like it's accidentally finding its way into the children's section.
And I think they're like saving up their babysitter money or not even lawn mowing money. They're too little to mow the lawn.
Their allowance.
Right? And so what I think was happening is they were in the room, they would go and they'd see these cartoony books up front or whatever, and they'd show their mom, oh, look at it. And their mom would be fine. Okay, buy it. And my assistant was horrified. She'd be like, what do I tell this little 9-year-old girl who wants to know when your next Betsy book is coming out? So that all happened around the same time. So my editor's like, you know what? We're going to do a radical cover change because there are a lot of imposters out there. I'm like, and children are reading these books. And I mean, on the one hand, it's not for me to tell your little girl what to read. On the other hand, it's a little girl.
And she's a parent too. And well, mom and dad have been pretty upfront with the whole "here's where babies come from" thing. Like at the same time,
slutty romance novel and learn all about the birds and the bees. No. That's also why my husband and I started writing the Jennifer Scales stories, because then I could say to these little girls, I'm glad you liked my book. You should check out Jennifer Scales and the Ancient
There are no sex scenes in it.
Because this is a girl closer to your own age, and I think you might really like it. So the way my publishers dealt with that was to do a completely different cover change. And I've even seen fan fiction of my characters on Archive of Our Own, for example. But I thought that's great. I'm fine with it. I did have a couple of editors come up to me and say, well, thanks for nothing. Now all I get are Maryjanice clones. I'm like, are you looking for an apology? Yes, I mean, so a lot of these editors were getting Undead and Unwed kind of copies for, so I think facing it and then dealing with it however best you can. But if you do your job,
that's not what imposter syndrome is, by the way.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You let me go on for 5 minutes before telling me
it was such a cute story, though. I couldn't resist. No, imposter syndrome is when you feel you're the imposter.
Oh, that happens. Oh, don't worry. We live in a beautiful house, and for the first 10 years, I kept waiting for the cops to come and kick me out. Like, your little pipe dream is over, miss. This is not your home. This is a nice, classy home, and you need to go back to the trailer park. And I would have been like, officer, thank you so much for letting me be here for 10 years. I mean, I didn't go to college. Again, I was never like the smartest kid in the class. I was the pretty one in our group. And nobody really expected me to make something of myself in terms of making the best-selling author. And for a while, it just seemed unreal that this was my life, that I was getting all this wonderful money and fans and readers and getting to travel all over the world. Writing took me from the trailer park to the New York Times list. And with no college education, no background in writing, nothing like that at all. And if I can make that happen for me, you guys can do it too. Absolutely. My husband, honestly, was one of the few people who was always 100% in my corner. When it came time to quit and decide to try and write full time, I was really scared and nervous about it. I'd had a job since I was 16, and it seemed crazy to not suddenly have an official job where you get the paycheck every week and the health benefits and all that. And he was saying, he goes, let's try it for a year. If it doesn't work out, you can always do temp work again. Mm-hmm. But he never doubted me. And I feel like I always would have been a success, but I think it might've taken longer without a supportive partner. And yeah, there were many, many years where I was just like, this is definitely there. I am 100% an imposter. And I dread the day more people find out, but I'm going to be classy when I'm called out for it. And when they escort me out of this house, which is not mine because I'm an imposter, I will be cool.
It's like a con artist. And
I still can't believe you let me babble for 5 minutes.
It was such I was waiting for you to get kind of to the point. And I'm like, oh wait, no, that's not the type of imposter.
I thought imposter system was when a whole bunch of people start copying.
No, they use it syndrome, imposter syndrome.
Oh, okay. So wow, I'm glad I eventually, thanks to Chris's intervention, I did finally answer your question. I hope. So grounded.
I'm 25. You have no power here.
That's right. I'm gonna call. Yeah. Stop calling child services, ma'am. You're 25. You can handle this on your own.
All right, we got one more question from Anita, and then I got one more here that I want to ask, and then we're gonna call it a day.
You all have to go home, except you probably are home,
or at work, where you're like, stealthily watching
this.
I
absolutely hope you're at work goofing off while you're doing this. That's awesome.
That's how do you think she wrote the first few books?
Oh God, yeah, at work, absolutely. It's all in how you set up your desk.
Yeah,
you set up your desk so nobody can come up behind you, and then you can write.
You're
welcome.
Question from Anita: was it easy or hard to come up with situational haikus in the royal treatment?
Oh, no. It's funny because the last book that came out, it was like 8 years ago. No, I did some research online, and it was pretty easy.
Love the internet.
Yeah, I'm not a poet at all, but if I were, it would be haiku. So that was really fun, and I had a good time with that. And that's what it is. If you're in the middle of a manuscript, well, not the middle, because a lot of us get sick of our book by the middle. But the whole point is that you're writing because you can't not write. Mm-hmm. If you're not enjoying yourself, why bother?
What's the point?
Yeah, exactly. I wrote for me years and years before I still write for me, actually. I write because I can't not write, and I'm sure there are people on this chat right now who understand exactly what that feels like.
One more question from Kincaid on Facebook. So he is published.
Congratulations. That's not easy.
That is not easy. And he was arguing with a publisher of his over an erotic sex scene in their epic fantasy novel. Awkward question to end on, I know. Publisher said...
You saved this one for last.
I know.
And now for the erotic section of this mother-daughter talk.
The publisher said that epic fantasy novels don't go into that level of detail. Kincaid has read other epic fantasies that do hit that level of detail. How much is too much for an epic fantasy book?
It's what I really do. It's 100% what the author wants to do. Now, it's of course, if your publisher disagrees with you, that's their prerogative. But no, there's not a rule. There's not a hard and fast rule about erotica in any genre.
And there are plenty of epic fantasy. I don't know what that publisher was thinking. Like,
right.
There are plenty of epic fantasies that have epic fantasy erotica is its whole little genre. Like,
honestly, one of the reasons I loved the Anita Blake series was how freaking hot. even before she and the vampire were actually having sex, they were so hot. And that's not what I expected at all. I was just in it for the kick-ass Anita woman who's running around killing vampires. And so to have that also be in there was such a treat. Mm-hmm. And so it's honestly what you as the writer want to write. And if your publisher disagrees, you can either agree to disagree, or you can bow to what they want you to do. But not because there's a hard and fast rule about erotica in any kind of genre. I genuinely think that's not true at all.
Yeah, no, erotica pops up in literally every single genre. Except for kids' books, obviously.
Thank
but
God.
Like other than that, I've even seen it in some young adult books. So it's like,
yeah, I have to wonder what your publisher was. Maybe
are they living in a hole?
No, they're projecting how they personally feel about that genre. Is what it sounds like.
I mean,
I'm not telling you to blow
feel
off your
personally
publisher,
against erotica but that's because I don't personally like to read it. That doesn't mean other people don't like to
Let
read it.
mommy critique your erotica scene.
God. That's another reason why I don't write romance, because I do ask my parents to critique my work, and
Chris, this is all wrong. Have a seat. I'm going to explain exactly why this will never happen in real life. Honey, I need you in here for this. Chris needs to. We got to get Chris to write this better.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I even mocking it, I feel very uncomfortable.
All right. One last question, because it's from my patron. How do you keep going with life stresses seem overwhelming?
For me, writing helps with life stresses, and I've been doing it since I was 13. My house burned down to the foundation when I was 18. I had a very eventful childhood and adolescence. Any number of disasters have struck our family over the years. And honestly, for me, writing is therapy for me. Mm-hmm. Again, I was doing it for years. Well, even before I was trying to get published, I just wrote because I just loved writing so much. So it's not something I have to fit in around a catastrophe. It's something that helps me deal with the catastrophe.
Cool.
Yeah. Wow. Ending on like a mature adult note.
Almost inspiring. That's weird. Very weird. All right. Well, thank you, Mom, so much for coming onto my channel and traumatizing my viewers.
Time for wine.
God,
it's 11:30, so we can have wine. It was 11:35. That was a fast hour. That was really fast.
Yeah, no, these live streams, they do tend to go pretty quickly.
And thank you guys for coming and giving great questions.
Seriously.
I hope all of you are at work.
Or at least some of you. I do want to do more author interviews, probably not in person, because like she and Dad are the only like live-in authors that I have access to. But I do want to,
Mr. Riordan, I would like to move in and be your roommate, and then also do a live stream with you.
But I do want to do kind of like this sort of type of author live stream interview, like maybe like a once a month or once every other month type of deal. So if there's a particular author that you want me to ask, let me know in the comments and I will give it a shot. I promise nothing though. Rachel, we're so glad that we gave you so much joy. We gave somebody joy. Yeah. We usually give them cooties. Just a little. A smidge of joy. Like a half gram of joy. A tiny, tiny bit. And remember, Dawn dish soap does not go in the dishwasher. It does not. Learn from her terrible, terrible mistake. It'll be very easy to clean up because it's just soap and bubbles. Our kitchen is never cleaner after that day. It's true, but I mean, still, don't do it. It'll be embarrassing, especially since you're a high schooler. All right, I'll catch you. Bye, lovelies. Bye, guys. Ending broadcast. Yes, end broadcast. Stupid.